torna indietro. I cannot believe this is the end. Oh no.
I cannot believe this is the end. Well, me neither. You're hearing the song Britain Come Back from the Breunion Boys, a new boys band who released their single this week. And they are very sad that Britain is leaving the European Union. The Breunion Boys are the brainchild of Julia Veldman. She's an artist from Amsterdam, and she's joining us now. Hello, Julia. Yes, you are the creative mastermind behind the Breunion Boys. Tell us, who are these handsome fellows?
Those boys are 5 Europeans with a burning heart for Europe that want to get the UK back.
And this band is your declaration of love to the UK.
Exactly, yeah. This is my answer to Brexit. When the referendum happened, I was living in New York at the time, and I was very homesick, and I was not longing for cheese and licorice like most Dutch people might do, but for the concept of Europe. And as I see it, that's a place where there's real history and real culture and real efforts to make the lives of all citizens better. And so the Brits voted to leave us, and this was a bit of a bubble pop moment for me. It was the first time I realized that not everybody was as convinced of the European project as I was. So it was a slap in the face, and I felt dumped. It was really a heartbreak. And it also gave me a profound sense of powerlessness because, it quickly turned out that a lot of people had worked really hard to break down the image of Europe during this referendum period. And they were like, it was like they were breaking down my home, and I was there standing empty-handed and not being able to do anything at all. And this intense emotion, the last time I felt that way was when Take That broke up.
Oh yeah, that was indeed a very sad moment in the history of pop music.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And so this breakup quickly became sort of symbolic for me for what was happening in Europe with Brexit. And not only because the emotion was so similar, but also because the members of Take That and a lot of the most famous British boy bands, like the Beatles, come from Leave Country. Robbie Williams was born in Stoke-on-Trent, and they voted overwhelmingly to leave us. So I thought, what better than use the same language to ask them to please reconsider and give us a second chance and come back.
Yes, you're right. So you then decided to turn your sadness into something positive.
Yes.
How did you manage to start a band? How did it work?
Yeah. It took me a long time to find them because this idea has been in the making for a while. It's because, the referendum, it's a while back now. I can't believe it's still not resolved. But okay. Over a year ago, I started looking for the boys, and I wrote out auditions, and I got some responses to that. And I asked everybody I knew. But it was hard because I needed to find boys that were talented and beautiful, of course, but also really felt like they had a stake in the European Union, because it is about the message. I chose them to represent European citizens and reasons for European citizens to want to be part of the EU. So that was like my main objective. And I think I succeeded.
Well, yes, you have a boys band. That's already something.
Yeah.
So you choose Europeans for the band.
Yeah, I have Pablo is from Spain, but he works in Amsterdam as well. Logistically, it was for me most useful if they were living around me because I don't have any funding, so I cannot fly the people in, of course. This is all coming from myself. So I ended up with a very diverse group of 5 boys. Some of them are studying medicine. Pablo is from Spain. Syed is actually from Afghanistan. He fled Afghanistan when he was 5 and arrived in the Netherlands. And I think his story is very exemplary of what the European Union can be for people, because he fled a war-torn area and found literally peace and prosperity in the Netherlands, and now he's studying to become a surgeon. And to him, the European Union is really the thing that gave him a second chance.
You paid for it by yourself.
Yeah.
How did you finance it?
Well, in two ways. I got a small fund from the Amsterdam's Fonds voor de Kunst.
Yeah, that's the Amsterdam City Art Fund, right?
So that's a local fund, but all the rest I funded myself. I'm an animator, so I draw poppetjes, I would say in Dutch. Characters. Yeah, I make hand-drawn animation, so I put a lot of my own money in it. But most of all people involved do it for free. So it's now 2 weeks ago that we shot the clip on the beach of IJmuiden. It was super cold. It was raining, it was windy, and the boys were in the water, and the camera crew was also in the water, and it was really overwhelming for me that there were 30 people facing all this hardship just because they believe in the project, and they think it's really important to do something about this.
So your sadness was shared by other people, and they even helped you out.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, that's nice. The single was released this week. How did the launch party go?
Oh, overwhelmingly positive, of course. Well, at the release party, it was. People were very touched by the song and the spirit of us coming together and trying to do something about a cause we care about. So that was a great experience. Obviously, we also get some very emotional negative response on the video clip from people that either want an exit, or are against the European Union in general. And I think that is, in a way, is a good sign, because the reason that they are so emotional is because that's what we are trying to touch upon, the emotions in this drama, instead of usually the number game that comes across so many times. Like, when we talk about Brexit, it's often about the cost of Brexit, the economic backlash it will generate. And of course, that's very important. I care about these things. But it gets boring after a while. And it doesn't sound as urgent and dramatic anymore, even though it still is.
And urgent it is indeed. Now, we've been talking a lot about Brexit politics. And economy as well, but actually not a lot about the cultural loss after the UK will have left. Now, you're an artist. Do you think that we Europeans are going to miss British culture?
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of British culture. I love the rom-coms, of course, and I think the story of Brexit is also a little bit like a rom-com. At some point, there is a confusion. And somebody thinks something that isn't correct. Like, they get the wrong information, and because of that, they think the person that they were so in love with doesn't care about them anymore, or did something terrible. And then you need to make a gigantic effort to right this wrong and do get back together with this love. And I think we are at that point now, because of course, there are also people that have thought it through very well and know the consequences and have a reason to be for Brexit. But I do believe that a lot of the people that voted to leave didn't really know what they voted for.
So you're still hoping that this story will have a happy ending?
Absolutely. We need the scene at the end of every rom-com where the main character realizes what they did or what happened, and they start to run towards their love. That's where we are at now.
But in that case, should the UK run towards the EU, or should the Europeans start running now towards the UK?
We should start running to the UK now that we realize. I think we should take their concerns seriously. And that's also what we say in the lyrics. We cannot deny we made mistakes. We had a rocky start. Like, the way that the UK joined the Union, for them was not a proud moment. And that's a bad starting point, of course. And they didn't have a fair choice. They've been misinformed, and the lies let all of us down. I think we let the UK down as well, because when the referendum was happening, we didn't make a good enough effort to show them what it was really about and what the EU really does for its citizens, and we have a PR problem. It's very hard to tell a positive message about the EU somehow.
Have you been contacted by the British media already?
Not yet, no. But it is getting picked up across the globe. So I'm counting on some phone calls today.
Well, this podcast has a lot of British listeners, so maybe some of them can make your song famous.
Oh yeah, in that case, can I ask a question to the audience? We, as the Breunion Boys, would love to go on tour through the UK, and especially through Leave Country or Take That Country, whatever you want to call it. And in the form of a tour passing by pubs, and we will sing our song and we will talk to the public about why we care. And I'm looking for somebody to help me set this up. So if one of your listeners is interested...
Well, your call is being supported by Folk in the Channel. And indeed, listeners to this podcast, you can go to www.reunionboys.net. I will also put the link on my website at folkinthechannel.eu, and you can listen to the song Britain Come Back on Spotify or in iTunes. I wish you all the luck with your project. Thank you very much, Julia Veldman, the brain behind the Breunion Boys band.
Thank you.
Can we make you change your mind? Britain, you're great, but together we're greater. Britain, come back to us. Can we make you change your mind?
What we are asking is for a very large amount of our own money back.
I believe that Britain will be safer, stronger and better off in a reformed European Union.
I'm walking in Notting Hill now, the area that got world famous by the film Notting Hill from 1999, a film at that time that was in a time that everything that came from Great Britain was considered cool. Design, fashion, movies, art. It was the era of cool Britannia, but that is a long time ago, almost 2 decades. And at the time, Notting Hill was a very mixed neighbourhood with a big community from the former British colonies. And now it is a very, very affluent part of London. Oh, I see a squirrel here. Hello, squirrel. What do you think about Brexit? Squirrel? Squirrel? No, don't run away. Okay, well, that was clearly a squirrel who voted Brexit. In Notting Hill, about 2/3 of the voters voted Remain. So there are not many Brexiteers here. But I was able to find one. His name is Marc Roche. He's a Belgian Born journalist, the former correspondent of the daily Le Monde. He has been living in London since 1985, and before the referendum, he was he was in favour of Remain. But since then, he has changed his mind. He's now a Brexiteer, and I'm meeting him now in his lovely house in Notting Hill, right in front of the Russian embassy. So maybe there has been some Russian meddling in his the way he changed his opinion. He published a book in September called Le Brexit va réussir, in French, Brexit will succeed. And I'm going to ask if he still thinks that Brexit is going to succeed, and if yes, why and how.
Monsieur Roche, bonjour. Enchanté. Merci de m'accueillir chez vous.
Pas de problème.
Très sympathique ce quartier.
Yes, Marc Roche. In the preface of your book you've written, when you learned about the results of the Brexit referendum, I was knocked out. Well, that was 2 years ago, over 2 years ago. What has changed in your perception? What has happened in your brain?
So I was knocked down when I heard the result of the referendum because I was a Remainer.